All right, let's talk about a battle that's happening inside your head, probably right now. It's this constant fight for your habits, a real tug of war between what you actually want to be doing and what the internet is so good at making you do. So let's dive right in. You know that feeling, right? You blink and an hour of scrolling has just vanished. You've seen hundreds of things, but you can't really remember a single one of them. You just feel kind of scattered, unfocused, maybe a little foggy. Well, if you've ever felt like your brain is getting shallower, you are not imagining it. There's a very real reason why that happens. The author, Nicholas Carr, he absolutely nailed this feeling in his book, The Shallows. He argues that the internet is literally changing the way we think. He says it's turning us from deep, focused thinkers into, as he puts it, mindless consumers of data. Oof. Okay, so what is actually happening in our brains when we're online? Because that feeling of being totally overwhelmed, it's not just a mood. It's a direct consequence of how our brains are being forced to work in this digital world. It really comes down to this idea called cognitive load. Here's an easy way to think about it. Your working memory, the part of your brain that's struggling what's happening right now, is like a small cup. And the internet? Well, it's a fire hose of information aimed right at it. And when that cup overflows, which it always does, we just can't form deep memories or connections. Our understanding, just like Carr said, stays shallow. So how in the world does this distracted, shallow state become our brain's default setting? To get that, we have to look under the hood. We need to check out the brain's secret operating manual, this fundamental rule that dictates how literally every single one of our habits gets formed. And it all starts with this amazing, frankly mind-blowing concept called neuroplasticity. See, for the longest time, we thought that the adult brain was basically fixed, set in stone. But it turns out that's not true at all. It's actually much more like clay, and it's constantly changing and rewiring itself based on everything we do and experience. So how does that change happen? Well, the mechanism was actually figured out way back in 1949 by a neuropsychologist named Donald Hebb. He came up with this simple but really powerful theory that explains how our brains physically adapt to everything we do. In his entire theory, it all boils down to this one beautiful idea. Seriously, if you remember just one thing from this whole explainer, make it this. Neurons that fire together, wire together. It just means that every time two brain cells are active at the same time, the connection, the wire between them gets a little bit stronger. This is the blueprint for every single habit you have, good or bad. Think about it like this. The first time you do something, it's like you're hacking a tiny little path through a dense jungle. Do it again, and that path gets a little clearer. You keep doing it over and over, and pretty soon you've paved a 6-lane superhighway. The action becomes automatic. It becomes a habit. And this brings us right back to the internet. Because if fire together, wire together is the basic rulebook for our brain, then the internet isn't just a simple tool. It's a machine that feels like it was almost perfectly designed to exploit that very rule. Nicholas Carr basically says that if you sat down and tried to invent a machine with the sole purpose of rewiring our brains as fast as possible, you'd pretty much invent the internet. It gives us the exact kind of nonstop stimulation that leads to really fast changes in our brain circuits. So how does it do it? Well, it's got a powerful toolkit. First, they're the repetitive actions. Scroll, click, refresh, over and over and over. Then it bombards us with intensive stimuli, bright colors, sounds, endless notifications. The feedback is instant, and the rewards are these little addictive hits of satisfaction. All of this combines to create this incredibly powerful dopamine loop. Every single like, every notification, ding! It's a tiny chemical reward for your brain, and each one reinforces that fire together, wire together cycle, making that superhighway for distraction wider and stronger, until it becomes our brain's go-to default state. Now, I know this might all be sounding a little bleak, but this is not a story of doom and gloom. Because here is the powerful, amazing truth. We are not helpless in this. We can absolutely take back control and become the sculptors of our own brains. And the best news of all is that the very rule that got us into this mess is also our way out. See, that fire together, wire together principle, it's totally neutral. It doesn't know a good habit from a bad one, which means we can use it on purpose. We can consciously choose to build new superhighways for deep focus and attention. So what does that actually look like in real life? Well, it means choosing to fire up the neurons for those deep, focused activities. So instead of the mindless scroll, maybe you pick up a physical book. Instead of constantly checking notifications, you have a long, uninterrupted face-to-face conversation. It's all about trading those quick, shallow hits for deep, meaningful investment.
So here's a simple little workout plan to get you started on rewiring your brain. Step 1, disconnect every single day. Even if it's just for 30 minutes, carve out some dedicated device-free time. Step 2, invest in one deep activity. Pick something offline, playing an instrument, gardening, whatever, and give it your full, undivided attention. And step 3, build real connections. Seek out those long conversations that exercise the parts of your brain that social media kind of lets go weak.
At the end of the day, we all have this incredible power to shape our own minds. The internet is always going to be there, trying to shape it for us, trying to wire us for distraction. So the only real question left is, what will you choose to create?